Logan lived a quiet life in a small town on Earth. He had no family left and no one special waiting for him at home. His days were plain, filled with work, food, and sleep. He wasn't unhappy, but he also wasn't excited about anything. The nights were the same: cold bed, quiet room, and dreams that never stayed. One evening, after walking home from a late shift, Logan looked up at the sky. The stars seemed brighter than usual. He stopped in the middle of the street, staring at a strange group of lights moving fast above him. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't a satellite either. The lights danced, then blinked out one by one. He waited for more, but nothing happened. Just the dark sky and the wind in the trees. Logan shook his head and smiled to himself. "Must be tired," he muttered, and walked back home. He made himself a simple meal, sat on the couch, and watched an old movie. He didn't remember falling asleep, only that he was tired. When he opened his eyes again, everything had changed. He wasn't in his room. He wasn't even in a place that looked human. The ceiling above him sparkled like it was made of glass and stars. The walls glowed with soft blue light. He lay on something smooth and warm like crystal. It pulsed lightly beneath his back. He sat up fast, his heart racing. "Where am I?" he whispered. The room was round and quiet. Then a soft hum filled the air, and a door slid open without a sound. 5 tall figures stepped inside. They weren't human, but they looked almost like people just. More, their skin had different shades, from silver to deep violet. Their eyes were large, glowing faintly, and their clothes shimmered like water. Logan jumped to his feet, backing away. "Easy," said one of them in a calm, soft voice. "You are safe. What is this?" Logan asked. "Who are you? Why am I here?" The tallest among them stepped forward. She had golden skin that glowed faintly and long white hair that floated like it was underwater. Her eyes were gentle but powerful, like she saw through him. "I am Nerea," she said. "Empress of the Thaleri. You, Logan of Earth, have been chosen? Chosen? For what?" His voice trembled. "What is this, some kind of test? An abduction?" "No," she said, her tone respectful. "You were not taken. You were summoned by the bond of life. It is rare. Ancient. The stars themselves picked you. We only followed their call." Logan looked around again. It didn't feel like a dream, but it couldn't be real. He rubbed his eyes. "So I'm dreaming," he said quietly. "I'm going to wake up now." "This is no dream," Nerea said. "You will have time to understand. For now, no, you are not a prisoner. You are a guest. And if you choose to return to your world, we will send you back." Her words were calm and kind. Logan didn't feel any threat from her or the others, just confusion. Deep, heavy confusion. "Why me?" he asked. "I'm not important. I'm just some guy." "Why would your empire want anything to do with me?" Nerea stepped closer, but kept her distance. "Our bond system is not about power, wealth, or bloodline. It searches for truth, strength of spirit, and hidden connection. You were seen by the stars, Logan, and they brought you to me." He didn't know what to say. Part of him wanted to laugh. Another part wanted to run. But most of all, he wanted to understand. He nodded slowly. "Okay, then show me. Explain all of this. I want to know where I am." Nerea gave a small smile. "Then walk with me." Led him through the glowing halls of the palace. Windows showed cities floating in the sky, gardens filled with glowing trees, and creatures he'd never imagined. Flying ships passed overhead like silent birds. The world outside was vast, colorful, and alive. She explained the Thaleri Empire, one of peace, science, and deep respect for the stars. She told him about the bond of life, a force that had guided their leaders for thousands of years. Long ago, the Empress or Emperor would be joined with a chosen soul to bring balance and unity. In recent times, the bond had been silent, until now, when the signal returned, Nerea said, "Our council thought it was a mistake, but I felt it. I dreamed of a man walking alone under strange stars, and then your name appeared in the stones." Logan listened quietly. The more he heard, the less afraid he felt. Everything felt honest. They walked into a chamber filled with stars like a planetarium, but more real. In the center was a bed of soft light. "This will be your place," she said, "for rest, for thought, and for learning. And if I want to leave, you will be taken home," she said, gently, "but first rest. Tomorrow, we will begin." Logan sat on the edge of the glowing bed. It was warm, soft, like clouds. Nerea turned to leave. "Wait," he said. "What happens if I stay?" She paused. "Then we will see where the stars guide us together." She walked out, and the door closed behind her. Logan laid down, staring at the starry ceiling. He didn't feel scared anymore, just curious. Something had changed. Maybe he was chosen, or maybe he was just lucky. Either way, he wasn't alone anymore. Logan woke slowly, but this time he knew it wasn't a dream. The soft light above him still moved like stars. The air smelled fresh, almost like rain in a forest. His bed felt warmer than it had last night, and it took him a moment to remember where he was. The alien world. The Empress. No. He sat up and rubbed his face. "Okay," he whispered to himself. "So, this is real." The door to his room slid open without a sound. Standing there was a new face, a short figure with greenish skin and wide, curious eyes. They wore a silver robe and held something that looked like a tablet. "Greetings, Logan of Earth," they said with a smile. "I am Elva. Guide and helper." Logan gave a weak nod. Nice to meet you." "The Empress has arranged your schedule," Elva said gently. "Today, you will visit the learning chamber, eat with the court, and then speak with her in the starlight." Garden Logan blinked. "That's a lot." Elva smiled again. "You'll be fine." They handed Logan a soft, smooth outfit that adjusted itself to his size. It felt light and breathable, almost like it wasn't there. When he stepped outside, the hallway opened into a floating walkway with glass floors. Below, a glowing lake reflected the floating towers above it. Logan followed Elva to the learning chamber. Their strange machines floated around him, showing images of stars, planets, and the history of the Thalari Empire. He learned how their people once fought in terrible wars, but after discovering the bond of life, they chose peace. The Empress ruled not by force, but by wisdom. The bond connected her to the heart of the people. "So, you're saying your system picked me?" Logan asked. "Not just the system," Elva answered, "but the stars themselves." They whispered, "Your name to our seers," and the Empress felt you in her dreams. Logan didn't know how to respond to that. Him, out of all the people in the universe? Next, Elva brought him to the court's dining hall. It was a quiet place, filled with soft lights and flowing water. Food was laid out in small, colorful portions. Nothing looked familiar, but it smelled good. Some members of the court gave Logan curious glances. A few nodded politely, others whispered behind glowing fans. He sat near the edge, unsure where to put his hands. Elva stayed by his side, calmly explaining the dishes. He picked something that looked like fruit and something that looked like bread. Both were sweet and soft. After the meal, a group of Thalarians came to speak with him. One had pale skin and narrow eyes. "So, you are the one chosen by the stars," the woman said. Voice cool. "That's what they tell me," Logan said carefully. "We expected someone stronger," she said. Logan stayed quiet. He didn't know what to say, but Elva stepped in. "The bond chooses for reasons beyond muscle or status. It chooses heart." The woman said nothing else and walked away. Logan sighed. "Great. Already making fans," Elva chuckled. "Just wait." That evening, Elva led him to the starlight garden. The trees there were tall and glowing with soft lights. Flowers floated above the grass. It was peaceful. And at the center stood Nerea, her long white hair catching the last rays of the alien sun. She turned as he approached. "Logan," she said warmly, "did the day treat you well?" He nodded. It was different, but interesting. The people, some smiled, some didn't. One said I didn't look strong enough. Nerea walked slowly, and Logan joined her. Strength is often misunderstood, she said. Some think it's in muscle or title, but strength can also be in quiet, in patience, in choosing peace. Sounds like your empire story, Logan said. She looked at him with interest. You learn quickly. They walked in silence for a moment. The stars above slowly began to shine. The garden glowed softly, like the world was breathing with them. May I ask you something? Nerea said at last. Sure. Do you believe you were truly chosen, or do you still think this is some accident? Logan thought for a moment. I'm not sure. I'm still trying to make sense of everything. I don't feel afraid anymore. I want to understand. Nerea smiled gently. That's more than most would say in your place. He looked at her. What about you? Did you want this? Paused. For many years, I've been alone. I ruled as needed, made choices for millions. I never questioned the bond system until it called your name. I didn't know if I should follow it, and now, she said, looking at him softly, I'm glad I did. Logan felt something shift in the air. Not magic, not power, but connection, real and simple. She wasn't just a ruler. She was someone who had carried too much alone for too long. If I stay, Logan said slowly, I don't want to be just a symbol. I want to help, learn, support, not just stand next. To you, Nerea nodded, and if you return to Earth, then at least I'll leave knowing I met someone worth crossing stars for. She smiled again, but this time it wasn't formal. It was warm. Then we begin tomorrow, she said, as partners in discovery. Logan looked up at the alien sky. He didn't feel lost anymore. He felt like he'd finally woken up. The next morning, Logan woke to soft chimes playing in the air.
Ow.
The room smelled like fresh flowers, and warm light streamed down from the high ceiling. He sat up slowly. It didn't feel strange anymore. He was starting to feel calm. A gentle knock echoed before the door slid open. Elva stepped in, holding a small orb that floated in the air beside them. Good morning, Logan, they said cheerfully. Today, you'll continue learning about Thalari customs. After that, the Empress invites you to walk with her through the city. City visit? Logan asked. Elva nodded. Outside the palace walls, the people wish to see you. Many are curious. Some are unsure. Logan sighed. Yeah, I got that feeling yesterday. Don't worry, Elva said with a smile. Just be yourself. After a quick meal, Elva brought Logan to a room filled with projection mirrors. Images danced around him, showing past rulers, traditions, and celebrations. He learned about the Empress's duty to stay connected to her people, not just through rule, but through feeling. The bond wasn't just personal. It connected ruler and people. Logan stood silently as an image of Nerea appeared, much younger. Speaking to a crowd, her voice was strong, her eyes clear. But there was something else, a deep loneliness, even in her confidence. She's carried this alone for so long. Logan said quietly. Elva nodded. Yes. And now, she doesn't have to. After the lesson, 2 Thalarian guards in elegant armor escorted Logan through the wide palace gates. Nerea was waiting beside a floating vehicle shaped like a silver leaf. She wore a soft robe of green and silver, and her hair flowed like silk in the wind. Ready? She asked with a gentle smile. As I'll ever be, Logan said, stepping beside her. The city outside the palace was vast and beautiful. Buildings rose in smooth curves, glowing faintly in the sunlight. Floating platforms moved between towers. Creatures with wings flew across the sky. The people of Thalari wore clothes of many colors, and their skin shimmered in different shades. It was like walking through a living painting. As they floated through the city, people paused to watch. Some waved, a few bowed, others whispered. A small child ran forward and gave Logan a glowing flower. He bent down and accepted it with a quiet thank you. The mother smiled and pulled the child back gently. They're unsure, Nerea said as they continued, but not hostile. They're waiting to see who you are. I get it, Logan replied. I'm the outsider, suddenly part of their world. That's a big thing to accept. You're doing well, she said. Better than many of my own. kind wood. They stopped at a quiet plaza surrounded by tall trees. Music played softly in the background. Nerea sat on a stone bench, and Logan joined her. "This is where I come to think," she said. "Even before I was Empress, when I was just Nerea." Logan looked around. "It's peaceful." "Yes. I wanted you to see the world beyond. The throne, feel its breath, understand it better." He nodded. "Thank you for showing me this." Few elders approached from the nearby walkway. They bowed to the Empress and looked at Logan. "Double quotes, may we speak with you?" One asked. "Of course," Nerea said softly. They turned to Logan. "We are the voice of memory. We protect old ways. Many among us question the bond's return. We do not say you are unworthy, but we ask, what makes you ready for her heart? For this people." Logan stood up. He didn't want to be rude. He looked each of them in the eyes and spoke clearly. "I don't come from power. I've lived a simple life, but I know how to listen. I know what loneliness feels like, and I know what it means to be trusted. If she chose me or if the stars did, then all I can do is respect that choice and earn your trust one step at a time." The elders looked at one another. Then they bowed, spoken from truth. One said, "We will watch, and we will wait." They walked away slowly. Logan sat back down, feeling a bit tired. Nerea smiled. "You didn't have to say all that."
I
"Did," he said. "They deserved honesty." She looked at him differently now, like a wall had come down. They returned to the palace just before nightfall. As they entered, a royal guard ran toward them, breathing fast. "Empress," he said, bowing. "There's a disturbance near the western tower. One of the high advisors demands to speak with you." He's not calm. Nerea's face darkened. Slightly. Advisor Jurel again. He never approved of the bond. Logan watched her carefully. "Want me to come?" She paused and nodded. "Yes. If you're to stand beside me, you should see all sides." They walked together to the western tower, where Advisor Jurel waited with a group of nobles. His eyes narrowed when he saw Logan. "This is foolishness," he said. "Bringing him here, making him part of the bond. We have rules. Bloodlines, history." Nerea stood tall. "And the stars have chosen? I follow them as every empress before me has." "He is not one of us," Jurel snapped. Logan stepped forward. "No, I'm not. But I'm here, and I'm listening. Maybe that's a good place to start." There was silence. Jurel scoffed and walked away. Some nobles followed. Others stayed, watching Logan with quiet interest. As they walked back, Nerea sighed. "You'll face more of that. More tests." Logan smiled a little. "Good. Let them test me. I'll keep showing up." For the first time, Nerea laughed. It was soft and real. "You surprise me," she said. "I'm just getting started," Logan replied. The stars above the palace glowed brighter that night. Logan stood near the balcony of his chamber, staring out at the city lights below. Everything was quiet, but inside his mind, thoughts moved fast. He had walked through floating cities, eaten alien food, and stood beside a powerful empress. And now, others were watching him, judging him, testing him. He didn't feel weak. He just felt unsure. A soft knock came at his door. He turned. It was Nerea. "May I enter?" she asked gently. "Of course." She stepped inside, her robe shimmering with starlight patterns. She looked peaceful, but Logan noticed the weight behind her eyes. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. "No," she answered. "Ow. Too many voices in the halls, too many worries." "Same." "Here," Logan said. She walked toward the window and stood beside him. "Many nobles are unsettled," she said. "Jurel speaks louder each day. They fear change, especially when it looks human." "I'm not trying to take anything from them," Logan replied. "I know," she said. "But fear does not listen to reason. It listens to old stories and stubborn pride." They stood in silence. Then Nerea turned toward him. "Tomorrow," she said, "the trial of seeing begins." Logan raised a brow. "What's that?" "A tradition. If a chosen bondmate is not born of our world, they must pass a trial, not a fight, but a test of mind and truth. It will be public. Logan sighed. Another test. This one is important, she said. If you pass it, no voice can deny your right to stand beside me. He looked at her. And if I fail, then you'll still have my trust, but the bond will be seen as weak. I may lose my right to lead. Logan was quiet. Then he nodded. Okay, tell me what I have to do. Come to the Hall of Memory tomorrow morning. The trial will begin there. Naraya placed her hand on his shoulder for a moment, then left the room. Logan sat alone for a while after that. He didn't know what the trial would bring, but he knew one thing: he had come too far to back down now. The next day, the Hall of Memory was filled with light and people. High nobles, scholars, warriors, and even ordinary citizens gathered in the great circular room. Above them floated glowing stones that changed color with every breath. In the center stood a stone path that led to a silver arch. Naraya stood beside it, dressed in robes of deep blue. Her face was calm. Logan walked toward her, heart beating. Fast. You're not alone, she whispered. Then she stepped back. Leaving him to face the trial, an elder stepped forward. She held a small orb in her hand. The trial of seeing begins, she said. You will enter the vision chamber. You will face memories, doubts, and truths. You must speak only truth. Hold no fear. Let your heart guide you. Logan nodded and stepped through the arch. The world changed in a blink. He stood in a shadowed place, his old bedroom on Earth. The same messy floor, the same quiet silence. Then a younger version of himself appeared, sitting on the bed. What makes you think? You belong there? The younger Logan asked. Logan swallowed. I don't know, but I'm trying. You were alone here. Forgotten, invisible. Why would they want you? Because maybe being alone taught me how to care when no one else does. Room faded. Now he stood in the city of Thaleri, surrounded by crowds, whispering, pointing, laughing. He's not one of us, they said. Logan stood tall. No, I'm not, but I can learn. I can listen. The voices faded. Then he stood before a throne. Naraya sat there, but her face was cold. You failed me, she said. Did I? Logan asked. Hurt? You made a promise to stand beside me. Now you walk alone. Logan looked around, was alone in a dark place. Then he spoke. I'm not perfect, but I'm still here. And I will keep standing even when it's hard. Darkness lifted. A soft light returned. The elder's voice echoed. The trial has ended. Logan opened his eyes and found himself back in the Hall of Memory. People were silent, watching. Then the elder stepped forward and raised her hand. He spoke truth. He stood without fear. The bond is real. Whispers turned into cheers. Not all clapped, but most did. Naraya walked forward, pride shining in her eyes. You did it, she whispered. I almost gave up, he replied. But you didn't. She turned to the crowd. Let it be known, Logan of Earth has passed the trial. The bond is strong, and the stars were not wrong. Cheers filled the air. Logan looked around. Faces that once held doubt now showed respect for the first time. He didn't feel like a visitor. He felt like part of something greater. As the hall emptied, Naraya and Logan walked together through the quiet garden paths behind the palace. So what happens now? Logan asked. Now, Naraya said with a small smile, we prepare for what comes next. Together. Logan looked up. At the stars again this time. They didn't feel far away. The days after the trial moved quickly. People in the palace started treating Logan with more respect. Servants bowed politely. Guards gave nods of approval. And even the nobles who once whispered behind fans now greeted him with forced smiles. Not everyone liked him, but most had started to accept him. Logan didn't care much for the attention. He cared more about what it meant for Naraya. She no longer had to stand alone. The burden she carried was now shared, even if only in part. And she looked lighter, her eyes less tired, her steps more relaxed. They spent time together almost every day. Sometimes they walked through the royal gardens, talking about Earth and Thaleri customs. Sometimes they sat in the sunroom, sipping a sweet drink made from sky fruit, watching the floating sky creatures drift by. They laughed more. talked more. But peace never lasted long in the palace. One evening, while Logan was reviewing a new learning scroll, Elva rushed into the room with worry on their face. "Logan," they said quickly, "there's been an explosion at the outer energy station." Logan stood up at once. "Was anyone hurt?" "No deaths. Some damage. But the source is unknown. The Empress has called a meeting. She wants you there." Logan followed Elva to the council hall, where Nerea stood before a table filled with holograms of the damaged station. Advisors and nobles whispered around her. Her eyes met Logan's, and she gave a small nod of relief when he entered. "This was not an accident," said one of the generals. "Someone placed a timed device within the core." "A rebel group?" Logan asked. Nerea looked at him. "Perhaps. Or someone from the inner court. Someone who still fears change." Logan stepped forward. "So what now?" "We investigate," Nerea said calmly. "And we protect the people. We do not respond with fear." The next few days were tense. Guards increased across the palace. Every visitor was checked. The mood of the city shifted. People whispered about safety, about danger, about trust. One night, Nerea invited Logan to her private chamber. It was quiet, lit by soft gold lights with stars outside the window. "I'm tired, Logan," she said, sitting down. "Not just from today. From years." He sat beside her. "You've carried so much. Maybe too much." She turned to him. "And now I have you. But even that makes me a target to some." Logan reached out and gently placed his hand on hers. "Let them talk. Let them try. I'm not leaving." She looked at him with soft eyes. "You still have the choice to return home." "And if I did," he said, "I'd spend every day wondering if you're safe. If you're lonely again." She didn't speak for a long time. Then she said quietly, "I was never meant to rule alone. But when the bond stayed silent for so many years, I had no choice." Logan smiled a little. Maybe the stars were waiting for the right time, the right person. They sat in silence, just holding hands, while the stars outside slowly moved across the sky. A few days later, a hidden message was uncovered. A servant found a coded signal inside a royal archive crystal. When decoded, it showed a meeting between Advisor Jurel and a small group of nobles. They spoke of weakening the Empress, breaking the bond, forcing her to step down. Logan stood beside Nerea as the evidence was presented in the council room. Jural stood tall, proud, but his face was pale. "I did what I thought was right," he said. "The bond has made her soft." "No," Nerea said firmly. "It made me stronger. And you let fear poison your heart?" "This human doesn't belong," Jurel said, pointing at Logan. "He is not of our world." "No," Logan said calmly. "But maybe that's what makes me useful. I see things differently, and I care about her." The council ruled quickly. Jurel was removed from power and exiled to a distant colony. His followers lost their seats. It was over, or so it seemed. That night, as Logan walked alone through the East Garden, he heard movement behind him, turned and saw a cloaked figure holding a glowing blade. Before Logan could react, the attacker lunged, but a blur of light shot between them. No, with a wave of her hand. Energy sparked from her bracelet, blocking the blade. Guards rushed in seconds later and took the attacker down. It was one of Jurel's former guards. Nerea stood over Logan, her eyes wide with worry. "Are you hurt?" "I'm okay." He breathed. "You could have been killed," she said softly. "So could you," he replied. They stood facing each other, both shaken. "They'll keep coming," she whispered. "Not because of you, but because of what we represent." Logan nodded. "Then we keep standing." Her eyes locked onto his. "You're more than just the bond now. You're part of me." He smiled. They walked back together, under the stars. No words were spoken after that, but they didn't need words anymore. The bond was no longer just a title. It was real, strong, and no force, no fear could break it. The palace buzzed with energy, not from fear or anger, but from change. The people had seen what Logan had done. They had seen him face danger, speak truth, and stand beside their Empress, even when it almost cost him his life. The whispers in the halls had turned into quiet respect. The nobles who once doubted him now bowed their heads in greeting. The people of Thalari began to speak of him not as an outsider, but as our bonded one, in the days that followed. Logan and Nerea moved together as a true pair. They walked through the floating gardens, visited healing centers, and spoke to city elders. Logan asked questions no one had ever asked before. He listened closely, and that mattered. Nerea watched him with growing pride. She no longer saw him as the quiet man who had once woken up confused and scared in the crystal chamber. She saw a partner, someone who carried strength in a new way through care, not control, through patience, not power, but even in peace. The stars had one more trial waiting. A strange signal arrived from a far region of the Thalari Empire. A fleet of ships from a forgotten rival species had crossed into their border. The last time they had appeared, long ago, it had ended in fire. Now they were backhand. They brought a message. They did not recognize the bond. They did not recognize Nerea's leadership. And they would come to take what they believed was rightfully theirs. The council was shaken. "They test us," one general said. "They think our bond made us weak, and let us show them the truth," Nerea said calmly. She turned to Logan. "Will you stand with me again?" He nodded without hesitation. "Always." The Empress called upon the guardians of the Empire in ships powered by the stars themselves. Logan was taken to the command chamber, where the ship responded to his presence. It glowed brighter when he touched its controls. The Laritac was not moved by force. It responded to spirit. And somehow, Logan's human soul matched it perfectly. When the Thalari fleet reached the edge of their space, the rival ships were already there, dark, spiked vessels, silent and cold. A message came through. "We will not speak to the one who hides behind her human," said a voice filled with disgust. Nerea stepped forward, her voice calm. "Then speak to both of us, because I do not hide, and he does not run." Logan spoke into the come next. "You call me human like it's an insult. But I have something your ships don't. I have her trust, and that's more powerful than all your fire." There was silence, then weapons charged. A battle began, but it was not like wars of the past. The Thalari fleet didn't strike first. Instead, they used barriers of light to protect their borders. The starships flew in smooth lines, guided by energy and connection. Logan's ship moved like it was part of him when he thought of protecting. Nerea, the ship, sent out a pulse that blocked the enemy's strongest beam. Nerea led with grace. She gave orders with clarity and peace. Her forces defended not to destroy, but to protect their people and their right to choose their own future. After hours of tense movement and energy storms, the rival ships began to retreat. They had not expected this. They had not expected a human and a Thalari to stand as one, to fight with unity, not ego. The rival leader sent one last message. "This changes nothing." Nerea replied simply, "It already has." Back in the palace, after the skies were quiet again, the people gathered in the grand plaza. Nerea stood at the high platform with Logan beside her. Thousands of Thalari looked up at them with shining eyes. "We were tested," Nerea said. "By fear, by old anger, by those who refused to see truth. But we stand here today not because of power, but because of trust, because of choice." She turned to Logan. "The stars guided you to me, but my heart chose you." He looked at her, voice steady. "And I chose you too. Not because of duty, but because you saw me. I saw you." Cheers rose from the crowd. Soft lights lit the sky. The city sang not with loud music, but with glowing waves of color. It was the song of acceptance, the song of unity. That night, back in the quiet of the garden, Nerea and Logan sat beneath the stars once more. "Do you miss Earth?" she asked gently. "Sometimes," he said. "But if I had to choose between an old life and this one, I'd still choose you. Every time," she smiled. "You've changed my world." "You've changed mine first," he replied. A breeze passed through the trees. Their hands found each other's again. No crowns. No battles. Just two souls beneath the stars. He had gone to bed alone that one strange night. But now, stood beside an Empress with a bond that would guide not just them but a galaxy.